So we are very pleased to have with us Krishna-katha Prabhu, from whom we have heard some time ago. And this time we will be hearing from him about Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, chapter 5, text 10. And it will be about how to be like a lotus leaf. And we have already announced it in the newsletter. Maybe you know the lotus effect from advertisement like facade paint or whatever, or toilet bowls or wash basins with a lotus effect. That means that they will not, the objects will not become dirty because they have this kind of special surface. But this verse actually deals with the lotus effect, or the inner state of consciousness that will make you become like a lotus leaf, that you are untouched from all the material things. And we are very excited to hear from you, and we are glad that all of you have joined. And of course you can ask questions in the end or type them into the chat box as you like. So with this I hand over to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Karmāṇi Prabhu. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining. So as Karmāṇi Prabhu already mentioned, today we'll be discussing the verse from chapter 5, verse number 10. And yeah, we can straight away go ahead with the verse. So I'll first read the verse in Sanskrit, and then we'll go through the translation and the purport. So let's begin the verse, chapter 5, verse number 10. Brahmaṇya ādhāya karmāṇi saṅgam tyaktvā karoti lipyate sa pāpena padma-patram ivāmbhasā. Translation: one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by the sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Here, brahmaṇi means Krishna consciousness. The material world is a sum total manifestation of the three notes of material nature, technically called pradhana. The Vedic hence sarvam etad brahma from Mandukya Upanishad 2. Tasmat etad brahma nama rupam annam cha jayate. Mundaka Upanishad 1.1.9. And in the Bhagavad-gītā 14.3, Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma indicate that everything in the material world is the manifestation of Brahman. And although the effects are differently manifested, they are non-different from the cause. In the Upanishad, it is said that everything is related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him only. One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that, therefore, everything is engaged in the service of the Lord, naturally has nothing to do with the results of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. Everyone's material body, being a gift of the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action, can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reactions, exactly as the lotus leaf, though remaining in the water, is not wet. The Lord says in the Gita 3.30, Mai sarvani karmāṇi saññasya, resign all works unto me, Krishna. The conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of the material body and senses, but a person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the knowledge that the body is a property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. So we'll chant the pranam prayers, and then we'll start with the discussion on the verse. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha. Sri Rupam Sagrachatam Sagana Raguna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Varijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padansaha Gana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarina He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah. So in this verse, so we can see that Krishna is explaining about what is duty, and so here duty means our material swadharma. So in Vedic sociology, the duty is basically defined as the 4 varnas, like the brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, and shudra. So there are prescribed duties for each of this class. And yeah, in today's world, it's in Kali Yuga at least, the Kalo Shudra, somehow almost everyone is like a Shudra. But we have been saved with the Krishna consciousness. Again, the Brahmanical culture has been introduced. And so here Krishna explains about the duties and how to perform this duty. So when we perform this duty, how to perform here, basically there are just 2 things, whether with attachment or without attachment. And so with attachment is, in simple terms, we can say it's without Krishna consciousness, and with attachment is without Krishna consciousness, and without attachment is basically doing in the Krishna consciousness all the activities which you are doing without any personal motives or something, as a service, rendering service to the Lord. So that is in Krishna consciousness. So in most of the devotees' life is before becoming a devotee and after becoming a devotee. And before becoming a devotee, it's always like, what do I get out of it? What do I get out of it? Everything has a motive. Everything we have some personal motive behind that, and selfish. And there are also other sects of people who do more social activists and so on. But for them, Krishna is not the focus, or Krishna is not in the center. So they just carry on with the philanthropic work or something, but which is also a kind of void if we look through the lens of the Shastra, the social activism and so on. Right? It still remains void at the end of the day. Like, it's not sustainable in the long run. So yeah, so we'll discuss this more in detail about how to perform this duty with attachment and without attachment. What are the consequences of it? And whenever you perform some action or some duty, so it's always has some, an outcome of it. So it can be either positive, it can be either negative. And again, if we connect back with attachment or without attachment, when we do something with it, with attachment, and it results in some emotions and your consciousness can be disturbed in a negative way or in a positive way, and your anxiety levels grow up. You develop some kind of anxiety that you perform some action, and you saw there's an outcome of a particular action, and that will have consequences on you. Like, when you're at work and you had experience, you heard something, you saw something said to you, and so on, and that you keep on processing subconsciously throughout the day and so on. And then if we get familiar with this verse, so that's how it is. Like, okay, because I have done this with attachment and I was expecting something in return, and it's the consequence, whether it's positive or negative. If you get the expected results, and then you develop some kind of anxiety or excitement, or and you want to do more, or you keep on building, imagining more and more. Okay, I want to do it more. So that causes anxiety, which ultimately again leads to it disturbs your consciousness again. You become super hyperactive again. So mostly, since as a devotee, we always think like, yeah, we can also do as a service to the Krishnas, and so the anxiety, excitement develops. We can do that. We can transfer that in the service of Krishna. But this chapter, basically, Krishna, we still did not. In 9th chapter, basically, Krishna explains in more detail how to perform the devotional service, and Krishna clarifies much further, because we are still at the basics. So the chapter itself is the Karma Yoga, where Krishna is actually setting the platform for the Arjuna. So when even Arjuna had a lot of arguments or questions about whether to perform his duty or whether to not perform his duty, even if I want to perform this duty, and how to perform. So we are still in the stages of the Karma Yoga in this chapter, like action in Krishna. So Krishna is just setting up the platform. And then finally, you perform your duty, there is some kind of outcome, and then Krishna is saying here that we have to surrender the results unto the Supreme Personality. We have to surrender our results to the Krishna. And this is something like it's very difficult to digest for non-devotees. Like, okay, I did everything, and I just have to surrender to Krishna. Like, okay, it doesn't make sense for them. But I mean, if we understand these words from a more realized souls, so once we hear it, and once we actually put that in practice, that surrendering the results onto Krishna, it's much more relieving. And it's much more relieving in the sense, for example, Srila Prabhupada gives an example of a cashier in the bank. Yeah? And he keeps on counting some thousands of euros per day and so on, but that doesn't belong to him. He's just a cashier, and his job is to just count it and just give it back. He just gets his salary. So he's not bothered about how the market is functioning or whether there's a loss or profit or something. He has got nothing to do with that. And he just has to do his duty. So in similar way, like if we just perform our material duties or our dharma, and if we just submit our results to Krishna, and it's more relieving. I want to cite an example in the later part of our discussion, while just wanted to share my realization, like how actually submitting the results is much more relieving for us, and you will be relieved of the anxiety. You will be more calm and peaceful, and compared to you want something, okay, why didn't get it, and if you want to enjoy the results, it's much more entanglement. You will be completely entangled. One will completely gets entangled in it. And yeah, and finally here from the verse we can take like, okay, what's the outcome of submitting the results to Krishna? Is basically that you are unaffected by the sinful action. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that whether it's virtuous or sinful, but at least you will be free of completely unaffected by the sinful actions of it when you submit the results to the Krishna. So this verse is basically the summary of like what's duty, how to perform this duty, and duty is performed usually with attachment, without attachment, and the outcomes and how to react to the outcomes. And when there's a result, of performing this activity, how to submit those results to Krishna, and why we have to submit those results to Krishna, because it's for our own benefit. It's for our own benefit when we actually, we understand this verse in its own essence, like why makes more sense that actually we have to submit the results to the Krishna. Yeah. And here, this was the pretext of this verse, and if we go into the purport, where Srila Prabhupada mentions some explains in more detail that so here, like this point, one who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna and that he is a proprietor and of everything, and that therefore everything is engaged in the service of Lord, naturally has nothing to do with the results of its activity, whether virtuous or sinful. And so here I keep listening this example from my Guru Maharaj about we go on to carry on our duties in our life. So with this example that Krishna is actually the proprietor of everything. And when we enter this example is that you just go into the bank or like Commerce Bank or Deutsche Bank and you just stand in the middle of the bank and say like, okay, just listen to me that today I renounce everything. Like, and it's kind of making fun of ourselves because the bank people know like he doesn't own anything in the first place and what he has got to renounce in the first place. And same is the situation of ours, like in this material world, like we don't own anything and it all belongs to Krishna. And even if we say that I renounce everything, it's again, the philosophy itself is the thought itself is void, like I renounce everything, which basically the non-devotees and Mayavadis say like, that's just completely void, like you don't have anything here to renounce, and at the same time you don't own anything, and it's like you have something, you just have to use that in the service, like the opportunity is given to you just to use it in the service of Krishna. And here when we discuss about with attachment and without attachment is that instead of doing this, since we don't own anything, but we have our own quota in this world, and the jobs we have, the assets we have our own set of quotas, and how well you use what has been given to you in the service of Krishna, because it's just been awarded to you, it's not yours, but it's just a quota assigned by Krishna to you. And now how intelligently you use this, your assigned quota in the service of Krishna. And doing this, just doing everything, aligning your activities or your duties in the service of Krishna, that's how you remain aloof from this material plane. And that's what the analogy here, which says that a lotus leaf, though remaining in the water, is not yet, because first thing is that you realize that you don't own anything. And then that means that our common sense has actually, developed that, okay, now I understood that I don't own anything, but I have been just given the opportunity to use in the service of Krishna. I had this realization several times when I used to visit temple, the Berlin temple, before this whole pandemic thing. I tried to visit temple almost every week. And then if I can just relate the things which we discussed, you have been assigned your quota, everything belongs to Krishna, and you have been just given the opportunity to make use of it and serve him. And so when I used to visit the temple, I always used to be very excited and very grateful to Krishna that he arranged the food for me, prasadam, and the tasty prasadam or whatever it is, and which helps me to maintain my body, first thing. And I have been given a place to sleep. So it's again Krishna's arrangement, because I have been given the ability to earn something so that I can rent or buy a property where a shelter for me. And then I have been given the food. So I get the sleep and food with which I can maintain my body. And now Krishna has also given me enough money to buy a ticket to visit the temple. And then I thought, actually Krishna is maintaining me everything. So it's all belongs to him, but he's giving me to maintain my body And now only thing I have got is that he arranged everything. So he arranged my food, he arranged my shelter, and he also arranged my tickets. And he also gave me time, like I don't have anything to do on my weekends. And then he gave me time, food, shelter, and tickets. And all I have is, okay, I have to just visit the temple and do whatever service I get to do. And that gives I mean, if you think, so if you just connect to this verse, like, I mean, I don't own anything and he has arranged everything for me. And even if I have this money or paper or something, it's still the value. The things which I buy is actually has the real value. The food is produced with the sunlight, rain, and so on. And he arranged everything, and then all I have to do is I just have to, he's maintaining everything. He did everything for me. And now it's my turn. Like I have to just serve him. Like he's looking after me. Like now it's my opportunity. I have a very limited period of time, and then I can make the best use of it. And he's making all my arrangements. So all I have is to just serve him, just go to the temple and do whatever service you get. Like I used to be very excited and just looking forward that things would get back to the normal. And yeah, this is what I wanted to relate with, that everything belongs to Krishna. I have been assigned my own quota of the things, and which I can actually make best use of it. Like, because without maintaining my body, I cannot do anything. And Krishna has arranged everything. And now it's the only thing I have to do is serve Krishna. And now they're coming back to the part, like, okay, now I got my quota, and then I want to serve Krishna. And now here comes my duty while doing some duty. And here comes the question, with attachment and without attachment, which is also explained in this verse, one who performs his duty without attachment. And so once you go for this service or you want to do something with attachment or without attachment, so here again, it depends upon our consciousness, that with what mode you are entering into this service, or with what mode you want to perform this duty. And for instance, if you're being asked to sing, or if you have been asked to cook, but if your consciousness is with, like, you have some, or maybe you might also get attached to it, that you want to cook and you have your one, maybe I have my own personal motives, like, okay, I want to cook so that, I get appreciation from other devotees that I'm the best cook. Just call him, he's the best cook, he'll do everything, and so on. Maybe I develop attachment for that. That's kind of, that boosts my ego or something, like I've been called as the best cook or something. And when I'm singing, again, like, okay, I'm good at playing instruments and everyone appreciates me and everyone comes to my kirtan or something. Again, I'm doing that for my self-motive. So you have been given the opportunity to serve, but if you misuse the opportunity, and then again, it's not so fruitful again. But at the same time, as we were discussing, how it's so joyful to actually do without attachment. It's much more blissful, actually. You don't have any expectations in the first place. Like, I do not want to impress anyone with my cooking skills or something, but I just want to use my intelligence and my or my skills or something, which again given by Krishna, because even those I don't own it, because Krishna is the ability in the man. That's how it's coming. And I just want to do the best. That's it. Like, I do not want to impress or something, but I just want to do my best service, or as a kind of ingratitude to Krishna. So just because, like, conveying my gratitude to Krishna, that Krishna, you have given everything, just give me the opportunity, please. Just give me. I mean, I'm very thankful that for you arranged for my tickets, you arranged for my food, you arranged everything to maintain my body, and then and now you have also given me the service. So just let me do my best just for you. Like, I do not entangle me with my own personal motives to please someone, just to fulfill my ego or whatever it is. but I just want to do it as a service. And in this mode, and here you are like a lotus leaf in the water, because you are not inflicted with the consequences of the sinful action. Like you just wanted to do a service, whether you do it well or you fail at it, or you kind of get embarrassed doing this or something. For some reason you get embarrassed, or it might result in some kind of embarrassment. You know your motives, like because you just wanted to serve Krishna, you just wanted to be thankful to Krishna. So you will still remain aloof. That is, you are like still a lotus leaf. But at the same time, if I approach this service with some kind of personal motives, and then I get deflected from the devotional service, or my motive, it starts to move away from, it takes me away from Krishna. That, okay, last time someone said something, next time I want to improve this. I shouldn't perform in front of him. He's always like this. So my consciousness, and it's not just disturbs my own consciousness, but it disturbs everyone's consciousness. It's a kind of polluted environment. Why it all happened in the first place? Because I did this with attachment. I did with this attachment that I want to prove myself, I want to be recognized by someone, and so on. And that has ended up in my polluted consciousness. It has polluted the environment in the temple or something, all around us, and it does not bring that blissfulness in the environment. And then you will be afflicted by all the sinful actions. And then next time you get it opportunity, you want to again prove something, and so on and so on, and then just you're going down the drain. And so this is what I can actually correlate with this, that everything belongs to Krishna, and you have been given the opportunity to serve the Krishna, and and how you want to serve this, like you have been given a duty, how you want to do it as a service as the Krishna, with attachment or without attachment. And if you do it with attachment, and if you do it without attachment, we have seen, like, okay, what could be the possible consequences of it? That it does not only disturb your consciousness, because it also disturbs the consciousness around you. And this I had this realization. So for someone who is born in Krishna consciousness families, they're kind of very fortunate that they get, the validity period for them is quite big, like because they're born in the Krishna consciousness family or something. But someone like me who joined Krishna consciousness at the age of 21 or 22, and so when I started to develop some taste in Krishna consciousness, again by the grace of Guru and Gauranga, I always have this realization while waking up from the bed that, okay, you have just a limited validity period. It's not that you leave this body or you have to do the best, but it's also, I think that it should be more adventurous, in the sense that in this world, everything belongs to Krishna, and at the same time, how to act without attachment. That when you wake up from the bed, I had this realization, like, okay, I can just go doing my best for serving Krishna in some way or the other, like while visiting temple or doing some kind of service. Now I started doing some kind of a farm thing and so on. It excites me a lot. And then because I at the same time I had sometimes, so for example, I'm currently working on some kind of farm project, to develop some kind of farm project. And then I think, sometimes think, is it worth doing this? Because you don't know, you're working here, you're already close to 30 now. And then what's the use for you? Like, you want to work and it takes like 5 to 6 years to develop this. And then maybe around 60 years, you might not be this active and so on. So why you won't waste your time, because you don't enjoy, like if you want to develop a farm and so on, and you won't be there in the farm. And then I think like, okay, there's nothing to enjoy or maybe suffer or something. It's all belongs to Krishna. And now I have this, again, validity period of maybe 20 or 30 years to do my best in the service of Krishna, because anyways, if by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, maybe I'll have a next birth, or in the family of devotees, or again by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, maybe I might go back to Godhead. But I just have this 30 years of time, and I can be more adventurous in doing this, because I've got nothing to lose. The land belongs to Krishna. My body itself belongs to Krishna. It's just a gift of Krishna, and I can make a best out of it. Like I can be adventurous of this 30 years. Like I have got if I do it for me, like why do you want to take all this endeavor? Because you eventually won't enjoy much, because and maybe in 30 years, maybe you might get old or something. But if that thought comes, then again, it's for my own attachment or something. But then like, no, this 30 years, I just want to do it as a service to the Krishna. Or I want to prove some statements of Krishna about how he made this world complete. So I have, from that goal, like I just want to establish that, like I want to prove that what's this verse is with the farms and so on. So that makes it exciting. It's not that whether I'll enjoy the farm or whether I eat good food or something. It's not that. It's about, I have been given this opportunity. I just want to do it, because if I work with attachment, then I'll think of like, okay, I just have got 20 years, why to go with this, and maybe I have to just use that money for something else. But yeah, nothing belongs to me. I just got this opportunity to serve Krishna. So I just wanted to share this verse and connecting my realizations which I had in my life about performing duty, whether with attachment, without attachment, what are the consequences of doing it with attachment and without attachment. And yeah, so yeah, that's what I see as a purpose. In the purport, the conclusion, here the Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, in the closing part of the purport, the conclusion is that person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of material body and senses, but a person in Krishna consciousness acts according to that knowledge that the body is the property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. So the examples which we discussed is that you got this opportunity, make the best use of his opportunity. Krishna has provided us everything to maintain this body, and then it's just you have to make best use of the opportunity. That's it. So that's my realization with regarding this verse. And yeah, and for also with attachment and without attachment, again, when we again correlate with this analogy that the lotus leaf is untouched by the water, I had this experience. Maybe every one of us have a very different experience, or maybe also common experiences. That, for instance, I observe that when I'm at work, it's fortunately or unfortunately, though like 10 people are working together, for some reason, my work gets finished earlier, or sometimes I don't get involved in certain things which are quite complicated. Complicated in the sense it just consumes more of your time. And although the 10 people are working together, there are few of them, like 2 or 3 persons, and I'm one of them, that I don't get, I somehow, even if I don't choose something, whether I want to do this or something, but for some reason that doesn't come my way. And like, I'm not willingly escaping from it, but it doesn't come my way. And there are also like two, 3 other guys which happen, the same thing happens with them as well. And then I start to think that the other 7 people, maybe they had more attachment for work from, I mean, I'm not boasting myself that I'm kind of elevated or something, just to see the things from the perspective of, through the lens of the Shastra that these 7 people might be they tried so hard with attachment and so on, and then they got entangled. And maybe the other ones who are not looking from the perspective of Shastra, they think like, I can just enjoy now. I can just enjoy. I can go somewhere. I can eat somewhere. I can just, I don't have work. I'm getting paid for it. But at the same time, I don't have work as well. And if we look at these 2 things, one is the without attachment, with attachment, they are entangled. And the other sect is the other 2 guys. They're putting in their future karma, like, okay, you are enjoying on the efforts of the 7, so you have some balance, negative quota in your account, and for which you have to work in future life for them. And now I'm on the other side, where even I don't have work, but at the same time I don't want to do what they want to do. But I realized that okay, fortunately, Krishna is arranged. I'm getting paid. For some reason, that work is still not coming to me. I have time. And instead of using like the other 2 guys to enjoy my senses, or to fulfill my sense gratification, or with the engaging in all sorts of things, but rather let's take this opportunity to, read the books or do some kind of service, like, or read more. I mean, I personally like to read more, so I think I always think like, okay, I just have to make the best use of time of it, because I'm being maintained, I'm getting paid for it, and fortunately that work is not coming for me, though intentionally I was not trying to escape from it. But okay, Krishna has arranged, like, just make the best of the opportunity. So yeah, this example is again the same, like, what's the attachment and without working with attachment, that these 7 guys are struggling like anything to get the same work done, which we could have also done, but somehow it did not come to us. And now there are other guys who are just making the best use of this. From their perspective, they are making best use, but they are somehow enjoying on the fruits, on the effort, on the labor of the other 7. So they are adding into their own karma, so their future balance. And if we look from the perspective of Shastra, and if we can just make best use of the time and the resources we have, so yeah, that's we are very fortunate if we can do that. Yeah, and finally, just to close this thing, when I was reading this verse, I was also thinking how one can actually test whether he is attached or whether he's not attached. So test ourselves. And one realization which I had was that, yeah, I mean, I can share from my personal experience, just to test if you are attached to something or not attached to something, is to go for book distribution, for example, is what I had this realization that we practice Krishna consciousness, and we chant, we read something, but still, if you really want to test whether we are still attached to something or not, if we go on book distribution on the streets, I had this realization that, okay, I'm too much attached here. Because if you go on the book distribution on the streets, the first thing is that you carry the books, and the moment we step down the streets, like you put your feet on the streets and you carry books, like it takes a lot of time to get started. And it's quite difficult to start. And that's when I started to think like, okay, I have this attachment, like, to be in the safe zone or something. And you encounter different kinds of people on the streets, and then you can see whether you are really attached or something. And there are different sects of people, like where some people they feel like the moment you see them, they'll get burned or something, and they give us such a reaction to your, when you approach them, it deeply hurts sometimes. It deeply hurts. And that's where I realized, like, okay, I still have an attachment. Like, I still want to be respected by everyone or something. And I do not want to be treated like this or something. And there are also other sects of people, like, who want to be nice, who do not want to be bad, like, and who do not want to hurt. But at the same time, they also do not want to be disturbed with me. And then they try their best to be nice, but at the same time, it also creates some kind of inconvenience. And there are also some sets of people that they feel like he has got nothing here and he's coming to sell me something because he wants to sell something just for his own money or something, and then I want to buy that. So I just want to ignore. And I had this realization while working, while distributing books at the shopping mall, and everyone was carrying bags from the shopping mall. They bought something, and when I approached them, the moment they approached them, they just ignore like anything. And at that time, I started to realize that, okay, I can actually buy much more than them. And I mean, I'm in a good position. That those things come up actually. Like I could have bought much more things than those guys have bought actually. And then how come these guys can, I mean, be so disrespectful for me? But at those are the times when you actually realize how attached you are for all the things you have, or the material things you have. So that was, yeah, that's actually, I feel like it's a good thing to know, like to test how much attached you are to the things or not, is to go on the book distribution. From my perspective, at least, that's how it actually tests how much you are attached to the things and so. So yeah. Thank you, devotees. I would like to end here. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
And with that, I think we can open up for questions. So if any one of you has a question, you can either type it into the chat box, or which is not so much the preferred way of doing it, or the preferred way of doing it would be to unmute yourselves and ask the question right away. And I know that some people are here in this meeting who are quite fond of asking questions, or are not shy of asking questions. And I think that we can expect something from them. So I will mute myself and let the others do the talking from now on.
Okay, Prabhu, I want to ask question to Krishna-katha Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks a lot for your nice lecture. I can relate a lot of things with the lecture, what you have mentioned already. So many things, Prabhu. I have kind of like two questions what came in my mind. You talked about attachment and detachment from material things and from while doing service, or while doing service also. So the thing is, let's say when I'm talking about myself, Prabhuji, so when I am doing some service at the temple and some senior devotees came to me and said like, oh, you have done it so nicely, and do some praise, then some kind of pride comes in my mind, like, oh yes, I can do it the best way, you know. And so from there, this kind of attachment or things grows. So how can I be detached from those kind of appreciation or praising words? That is my first question. And second question is, when the devotees, senior devotees comes or tells you some praising words or some good words, on that very moment, how should I respond? Like, yeah, I know they're blessing me, but my mind is that much contaminated, or so much contaminated, that I took this kind of praise or blessings and feed my ego. So that how should I react, or how should I respond to those kind of situations, Prabhu? That is my two questions. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thanks, Prabhu. Thanks for asking this. I mean, just doing some service in the temple with you, I can say that you actually deserve the praises anyways. So there's no question about that. And I mean, the first thing is you actually found that you're being fed by these praises. Like maybe it's feeding your ego or something. That's actually the starting point to get rid of this. So I think you're already on the path. But yeah, since you do a very sincere service to Jagannath Prabhu, and again, yeah, being praised. But at the same time, I felt that after a while, if we continue doing this, actually, the Krishna gives us this realization. You actually don't, you start, because we are doing as a service to Krishna without any personal motive, right? So you did the service without any motive, but you got the praise in return. Maybe that's feeding our ego. But at the same time, again, when we go to the service with the same mood as just to serve Krishna, I mean, the praises is the second thing that comes after the service. But while doing service and before doing service, if we again and again enter the service in this mode, and at certain point of time, actually Krishna gives us this realizations that you don't even care about. I mean, it doesn't feed your ego, because you start to realize that this is nothing. That I mean, again, it's everything belongs to Krishna. He has given me the ability to walk. He has given me the ability to eat. He has given me the ability to digest that food, and that's why I'm here at this temple to do some kind of service. So again, there's nothing yours to even take that praise. And then you start getting these realizations that again, it's just like that you just go to the bank and then you just announce that I renounce everything. So it's kind of making fun of ourselves, and it doesn't make, it's not even fun. Maybe he really said like, I renounce everything, but he lacks that understanding that he doesn't own anything in the first place. So at that point of, from that point of time, you are actually start realizing yourself that you always enter the service in this mode to serve without expecting anything in return. And the praise comes later, but if you keep on entering this, doing this service within this mode, you actually start realizing from that at a certain point of time that you don't really actually bother about the praises at all, because you yourself know that, okay, what do I own? It's just like this example, just going to the bank and I'm renounced. So you don't care about, I mean, it doesn't feed your ego at all from that point of time. So it's just the matter of time. And then you see exactly what Srila Prabhupada says in this verse, you don't anything. The body itself is a gift of Krishna. So when you have this realization that, okay, I'm getting my food, I'm being maintained by Krishna, so what do I own here to even take this to pride or something, is what my realization is. That Prabhu.
And Prabhu, about the second question, like when devotees come and praises someone, like, yeah, I know myself, I know my mind, how contaminated it is. So how should I react or respond to those kind of praises at that moment, so that it doesn't go deep inside and feed my ego?
So first thing is, I mean, we discussed, like, the more you enter the service, so you'll already get, so you'll start getting realizations about this thing, like you don't anything and so on. And now, how do you react? Is that, okay, yeah, how do you react? So by that time, so you mean to say, like, until you reach that point where you realize this thing, how do you react? It's maybe, yeah, maybe Janita Prabhu can answer, Karuna Shakti Prabhu, or any other devotees can answer.
I remembered the lecture from Amarendra Prabhu a few weeks ago, and he said to see everywhere Krishna, and he said when someone is praising you, it's Krishna who's testing you. Maybe you can see it from this side, yeah. So to see, yeah, okay, good, yeah, it's nice. He's thankful for something, but at the same time, maybe that's his test. Don't let it to, yeah, don't let me be so proud about it. Yeah, I have thought about this. Yeah.
But at some point, Krishna will put you in a situation that it will be a kind of icebreaker at that time. So when you're being fed, and like he'll put you in a situation where like everything comes to zero.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks a lot. Very well. Hare Krishna.
I have a question also, if I may ask.
Yes.
Okay. And because you spoke about this attachment, and it's maybe even a little bit connected to the question of Shumit, or the answer you gave, because then what do we do if we see in ourselves that we are attached to a certain result while performing a service? Is it the conclusion not to perform the service, or what is the right thing? And also, what do we do if we think? I mean, or we see it in others. We might have the feeling other devotees doing this just for his own, because he wants to get some glorification, or he's not really doing this like really dedicated to Krishna. So what is the right response or the right attitude in this situation?
Maybe I can just share what I think about to your first question, whether to perform this service or because I'm expecting results out of it, whether to perform the service or not. So I mean, when Arjuna actually asked, when he was confused with the Krishna's equivocal instruction, that okay, should I perform the duty or should I just renounce everything? But Krishna says, work in devotion or just renounce everything. And Krishna says both are good, but at the same time, work in devotion is better than the renouncing things. So of course, that means that working, you have to perform the duty, of course. And when you are expecting results, we can also think from the perspective that what you want to do with the results as well, right, Prabhu? So for instance, I had this for the experience about I wanted to buy some big thing, and I went to the bank and so on, and there were like 6 failures. So like the first 6 attempts were completely disastrous. And as relating to the question, actually, I was expecting the results to come the way I was thinking. And after the first 6 attempts were really disastrous. And then the 7th time, I was not expecting, but I still did my thing. Like I still went for that. I applied for it. And suddenly I received a message that all of a sudden, like it's approved everything and you will get it within 2 days. And at that time, I had this realization that maybe it was Krishna's arrangement that 6 times he made it failure, because Prabhu, at the 7th time, now I was thinking, why should I be excited about this thing at all? Like what I wanted to do with this result. And then I thought, okay, since I got it, I would better put it in the service of Krishna. That is, maybe he taught me this way. So for instance, you're trying and you are expecting some results. So we can also think from okay, what will I do after I get the result is what the question. So then I thought that, okay, I got this big amount now. If I somehow misuse this, I'll be entangled. And so for me, there's no a reason to be excited about this thing in the first place now. Okay, I'll just what I can do is I'll better use this in the service of Krishna. I won't be excited about this. I'll come back in the evening and I'll think how to make use of it. So this is what I wanted to share, Prabhu. Like, yeah, you can do the action, but also think like what exactly you wanted to do with the result, because if that result is for our personal motives, then it would definitely cause problems. So for instance, if I had that big amount used for my personal motive, it would disappear within some time and I would be indebted to it and I have to work like anything for that to repay and all that stuff. But since we just took a time now, like, okay, this result, if I misuse it, it will create problems for me. But okay, now, but I can actually use it in the service of Krishna then. So yeah, in this situation, we can actually think what we want to do with the results and also analyze that if I somehow misuse this result, or maybe if I have some other intentions, it actually lands us in some kind of problems. So if we are aware that, okay, it will actually end me up in some kind of problems, then it's better not to take that endeavor at all in the first place. So I'm not sure whether I answered your question, Prabhu, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an answer. But what about if we, I mean, I also have this realization of this purification practically. If we have some idea, for example, book distribution is also like that. You think I want to distribute many books and then you don't do it. But if you getting detached and surrender to Krishna and really want to do it for Krishna, then Krishna empowers you. And yeah, but also my question was also about this. Yeah, for example, because you were speaking about the cooking or the singing, and then you are cooking or singing, and you're still thinking about your own glorification or how you will. So, what is in such a situation? Is it like if you find yourself like in being attached to this idea or something, like what is the right way to deal with it? Like, yeah.
So is it again the praise thing, Prabhu? Like someone praises you, or?
Yeah, if you, in that sense, I said it's actually a similar answer, like you gave to Shumit, probably, because yeah, it's that you do it for getting praised in the end, or for and not for pleasing Krishna, and in that sense, then yeah, the answer is a similar one, like I guess, like, or what do you think?
Yeah. And one thing is that, Prabhu, I mean, maybe one thing for me, actually, what it helps is in this kind of praise. So first thing is over the time, we'll get this realization that we ourselves start feeling ashamed when we actually take praise. Because I mean, not ashamed in the first sense, because it's kind of, it's embarrassing for us. Like, okay, why is he thanking for me actually? Because everything belongs to Krishna and I have been the ability and I just did. So that's maybe that's one perspective. On the other perspective, I think from my personal experience, when I think of this thing, I think like, why am I doing this again, even here? So for example, if we are working in material world, you go for some workplace where you always interact with the non-devotees and something. I have to anyways do that thing there. And if I do the same thing, even in my spiritual circles, so it doesn't make a difference. So why am I even practicing this? Why am I traveling in the two boats here? So that's one thing which I can relate. Like I have to anyways maybe helplessly do that in the material world to meet my needs and so on. And if I take the same attitude or same consciousness also in my spiritual practice, so it's kind of questioning for me, like, okay, I have to seriously start thinking why I'm doing this. Maybe I have to also get to the stage, start practicing to get to the stage where I actually feel embarrassed when I take pride in these kind of things, when I'm kind of bloated with when the praises or something. So I don't know what that answer, but that's what I thought, Prabhu, like if we get this, then I start to think like, okay, why am I doing this here again? Because I'm kind of carrying the same consciousness even here, then why am I unnecessarily practicing my spirituality also? Because it seems like, okay, maybe you're wasting time because you're doing the same even here. So why not just enjoy the material first? And when you're tired of that, just come back then. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's actually
doesn't answer your question, but it just.
No, I think it's a good approach. Yeah, it's definitely about like how do we, what position do we take in certain situations, and I think this is a good way to take a humble position, or to become humble, to work on the humble position, and to work on the sorry, got distracted. Yeah, but I think the answer is good. Thank you. Yeah.
I can see that Gerda has raised her virtual hand. Gerda, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your lecture and your discussions. I have something small to add. I don't know if it's a good idea, but yeah, with like with kirtan, I've been asked often already, and I feel, and my husband felt it too, that maybe like there is my ego, and I want to be good at it and something like that. And he once said to me, no, you have to just, if you feel that you're getting proud, you have to just say to yourself that I'm just a nasty little worm in feces, and what I have I have of good talent is just because Krishna gave it to me. Like, yeah, and of course I couldn't accept this right away, but yeah, I like understood what he meant. So I don't know if that helps, Janitai, but yeah, but on the other hand, it's always very such a contradictory situation, because if you do something good and you obviously have a talent, like devotees are going to ask you to do some service. Yeah, and it's like really who cannot say he's not gonna be proud, like on some point. And on the other way, if you think I'm just a little nasty worm, like yeah, and you're trying to hide from this service, it's maybe not good too, because as like for our our outward appearance as Krishna conscious society, as international Berlin, as ISKCON, so we have to like be attractive, and it's really it's a very hard position for devotees if they try to make good service and have a talent. Yeah, like it's always hard to battle pride. Pride.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
I mean, at least when I saw you, Mataji, like while doing some kirtans in the temple, and you said that I want to be good at something, but at the same time, at least someone who is looking at the devotees. So for example, if I see you that you wanted to do some kirtan, but what I at least observed is that, you want to be good at, but at the same time, you do not want to be good at to impress other people, but you want to be good to impress Krishna, is what I see at least. That's my personal experience. So you're in the right consciousness is what I see. I mean, it's not that I kind of give a certificate to you that whether you are in the right consciousness, but I can just see that. And at the same time, you yourself, I think you already know, like you want to do this, you want to be good at, because just not to impress someone or something, but you actually started doing kirtans to please Krishna, and actually that activity or that consciousness has had some impact on the other devotees, that, okay, she's really good because you did it for Krishna. They were actually impressed. And now they've started to find it good. So why not? Like, so in the first place, your entry was actually an illegal entry. So it's a legitimate entry. So you are kind of progressing there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe sometimes I hit on for Krishna, but I know what's going on in my head and or in my mind, and yeah, it's hard to live with this. There's always this in the end. When I'm proud, I think I control the situation. Yeah, and yeah, just to remember, I'm not the controlling the topmost controller. So yeah, thank you.
So I think that's it with the question and answer section. So thank you very much, Krishna-katha Prabhu, for giving this interesting and practically relevant lecture. And also thank you to Shumit, Joinitai, Gerda, Paul, and all the others who have contributed by either asking questions or by just listening, by being here and showing your interest. Thank you very much for that. And we will speak about the subsequent verse maybe next week, maybe not. We will see. Definitely, we will be being here at the same time on the same Zoom channel next week with maybe a little surprise. We will see. And I will not tell you what exactly it is, otherwise it would not be a surprise. So tune in, and then you will find out what we will have for you, prepared for you as an interesting and relevant presentation. So we will also not be telling you who will be speaking. So that is still in the making, so to say. And with that, we thank you very much, all of you, and see you next week, hopefully. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.